Hi, I'm Selena from Annie's Bookstop of Worcester, and I'm here with Bob Eggleton, um, who is an artist, and he does a lot of science fiction, fantasy art. Bob, for readers unfamiliar with your work, could you describe what you do?
I've done for the last 40 years book covers, and lots of magazine work, for Isaac Asimov's and analog and fantasy and science fiction. I've done comic book work, for IDW and Dark Horse Comics, and I've done illustrated books for like MBI and Centipede Press and all kinds of stuff. And I worked in the movies. I worked on Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and I worked on Star Trek, and I worked on the movie Sphere, and some other things like that. So as a conceptual artist is what I do, and then I do my own. I'm getting where I'm doing my own personal commissioned work too, which is really a lot of fun to do. But I'm also, I'm overwhelmed with things I have to do at the moment. That's what's really been dunning. It's been amazing, actually.
Wow. So, how did you actually get into this business?
Well, boy, I always liked science fiction and fantasy from when I was like a kid. I watched Star Trek, and I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, and watched Godzilla movies, and read books and comics and things of that nature. And I had seen a book called Tomorrow and Beyond, edited by Ian Summers, and it came out in 1977, I think, somewhere like that. And it was a bestseller. This thing did phenomenal. It was a real watershed book because a lot of careers were started with this thing. And at the time, it showcased a lot of art from the 50s right through the 70s. And so you had these old masters like John Schoenherr, and you had
Mhm.
Paul Lair, and you had all these people Kelly Freas going back into the 50s. And then you had these new people in the book like Michael Whalen and Carl Lundgren and Don Mates, and people that were just coming on the scene at that time. And so I saw that book, and I said, this is what I want to do. And I'd seen these colorful book covers in stores not unlike your own. And I said, this is like what I want to do. And people are going, well, can you really make a living doing that? And I, well, then they did an article on the local paper here, and an artist named Eric Ladd. And I've since lost track of what's happened to Eric, but he did a lot of book covers at the time. He was getting a lot of work from New York City, and there was a lot of these small book companies that were doing these old classic books. And they did an article on him, so I kind of got a hold of him on the phone. I was like 17 or 18, and I went down to see him out in North Kingston, and we had a nice afternoon talk, and showed me his work. I showed him mine and what I was doing anyway, and he really encouraged me to start going to science fiction conventions. And he said, "There's one you really got to go to," and he said, "Well, Boscone," and he goes, "You really got to go there and look at the art and see what you think." And I went there, of course, and lo and behold, this is 1979, Bosco 16.
Mhm.
I walked in, and there was Michael Whalen's The White Dragon painting, the first thing I saw, and there was all these great art that I'd only ever seen on book covers, and there it was, the real deal. And I said, I got to start entering this. And in 1980, the following year, they were having this Boston Worldcon,
Yeah.
and I had been encouraged by a few people in NESWA as they would become known more to me. They said to me, you really got to enter your work into, put stuff in this Worldcon art show. It's real easy. This is when a Worldcon membership was $20, and space in the art show was $20, and then shared a hotel room with six other people in a now
Mhm.
defunct hotel, the Copley Square Hotel, it was called. And it didn't have at the time, it didn't even have AC or anything like that. And there were and they had a whopping price of $29 a night for each of the 4 nights. And so divide that by six people, and you came up with, like, I did an entire convention for about, I think I did a Worldcon for something like $160 or something like that. It was just incredible. And I had a great time. I had a really great time, and I said, this is what I want to be doing more of. So I started entering into these art shows in Boston, primarily Boscone, and then I got more daring and went to the Worldcon and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, in 1983, I started painting, and I talked to Don Mates of all people, and I said, so
Yeah.
what do I do to do this? He goes, now you do a lot of drawings. He said, now you got to paint. I said, okay, that's fine. So I started painting, and I started putting these things up at the Boscone Art Show in 80, 81, 82. And then in 83, I was approached by Jim Bain, who was starting up his own publishing company called Bain Books. And he said, I need cover artists. So like he took my card and I gave him some slides of what I did. And the next thing he called me up and I want you to do this. And so everything took off from there. And I've been doing textbook artwork, and I've been doing other things that were spot artwork, editorial pieces for the local paper and all that. And it was just starting to really gel into the fact I was making a living doing this. And I had a lot of fun getting going. And this was way before the day of the internet. The internet didn't exist, and so you had to do everything snail mail and with basically meeting people face to face and going to see them and showing them what you did and all that, or happenstance, the right place, right time, and that sort of thing. And that's kind of like how I started getting into what I was doing. And then I started getting a lot of notice and a lot of sales of my work and a lot of invites to be into certain projects and things of this nature in the mid 80s. And it all worked out really well. And then I think I got my first Hugo nomination for Best Artist in 1988. And that kind of knocked me back. And I stayed a nominee from 88 till 2012. And I won 9 times, which is great. And
That's
but
great.
yeah, and so I've been doing this sort of stuff, book covers, and for every major science fiction author I can think of, including Buzz Aldrin and William Shatner. And
Whoa.
yeah, and it was just kind of like so I've been doing that. And then things are changing a little tiny bit as we're getting a lot less book cover type things going on. There's more virtual stuff. And they're taking a different graphic style to how books are being sold. I mean, you would
Mhm.
notice that
Yeah,
there aren't these colorful, splashy covers that we had in the 1980s and the 90s anymore. It's just all gone to a much more subtle type type solution kind of things. So it means that I've been doing other things, and I'm doing a lot of private work and a lot of small press niche work, as they call it. It's where somebody's willing to, they see me as a valuable quantity on their product. So I'm doing things with like Centipede Press. And I mean, he does beautiful books that people pay hundreds of dollars for some of these things. They just sell out. And MBI is another one. I just finished illustrating King Kong for them. And so it's all been sort of been good like that. Yeah.
that's great. So, what is the last thing that you worked on?
Um, what, well, the last thing I worked on, well, I finished up King Kong. I finished up
Right.
King Kong, delivered King Kong. I also delivered a cover to a John Wyndham book called The Logical Fantasy for Subterranean Press. And they're another company that puts out these absolutely gourmet books, you know what I mean? And so I did that, and that was very popular painting. And somebody bought the painting, and and it was kind of fun with me going back to my old school of what I wanted to do, uh and it's just right now I'm working a Hyperborea for Centipede, sorry. And then I'm doing also another thing that's come up that's interesting is that in the late 90s I did these things called Magic the Gathering cards, and they're these game
Mm,
cards.
yes.
They are very, very popular now. And the big thing now is because I was given literally, I'm not kidding, boatloads of these things called proofs, where the back is blank and the front has got the art on it. I'm drawing things on the back or painting on the back, and people are
Mhm.
paying really good money for these things. And I've got hundreds and hundreds of these proofs, and I must have sold hundreds of them in the last 10 years, and it's just been this nice little extra money kind of thing coming in, and I've got work on, I've got a lot of different things I'm going. I'm sort of busy as I was in the 1990s. It's just that double my age that I was then, I don't have the energy as much anymore. It's difficult keeping up sometimes.
Right. Wow. So, what what can readers expect from you coming forward, later on?
Well, like I said, there's going to be the John Wyndham book, which is coming out. And I've got several things I'm doing. I've got a new one for Bane that's going to be out soon. And then I got King Kong. King Kong's going to be I work with PS Publishing, and I just did some stuff with Daryl Schweitzer's book, and I did the Steve Jones King Kong book over in England. So I did two
Mm,
King Kong related books. It's his 90th anniversary. So the one for MBI is going to be this big,
right.
lush illustrated edition. And anyway, so I finished those, and I've got plenty of things I'm working on. I'm doing a Jack Dan book cover for Cemetery Dance Press. Again, it's not a lot of money, but it's just kind of, they let me just do what I want. They just say, hey,
Wow.
just nice, give us a nice thing. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm happy with. So
Great. Now, I have this crazy question for you. Do you think readers are sometimes drawn to books because of their covers?
yes, some are. Although the audience has changed a little tiny bit in recent years, where lately there's more about content. They're more into like they want to talk about the content, what's, and this is this digital side. I mean, as you know, you run a really nice little shop, and it's nothing like holding a book in your hands. There's nothing like picking
I
that up,
agree.
smelling it, and feeling the
Yep.
paper, that sort of thing. And I have real troubles reading stuff too much that's on, like, say, a pad or whatever, because I just go buggy. You know what I mean? I just and then I lose where I was. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so, but so I still like books. My wife and I we're gonna make a mission up to see your place soon, probably. But we have a
Great.
books, and we have too many of them, and even back me, I still have CDs. You know what I mean? It's like I don't. I just I like my actual item to be an actual item rather than something in a cloud somewhere. That kind of scares me. But yeah,
Hmm.
so I've got a lot of things I'm doing at the moment, and it's just been kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you with as far as books in your hands. I mean, I really hate looking at a screen to read a book. It's like,
Right.
no.
Exactly.
Okay. So what is your favorite media to use?
Ultimately, drawing with a pencil is like the favorite thing I like to do. But what I turn out my final artwork in is either acrylic paint or oil paint, primarily oil. But acrylics if I'm sort of needing to get it done quickly, or if it just seems to be working out really well in acrylics, and both have their own properties of how they look and how they work and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. So do you start with one and then move on to another? Like, do you start with doing a drawing and then go on to painting it, or
Yeah.
how do you work it?
Yeah,
That's
it's
how
like
you do it.
I start with the thumbnail ideas of where I'm going on something, and these are just very rough, little rough scribbly things of where I'm going, and then I work up better from that, and I might blow that up, and I might turn that into a better drawing, and then I might blow that up, and I'll trace that off onto the surface I'm working on, and that's how I work. Or I just start sketching right under the surface I'm working on. There's a number of ways I can go about it.
Mhm. So what are the steps that you take in order to make a picture and or to do a cover, like from the beginning to
Okay.
putting it onto a book?
Usually the old way used to be you get a book to read. And but that doesn't happen as much anymore because what's going on is that the book covers are they I know pretty much where I'm going based on something like the Jack Dan book that I got. He's really quite a good author, and he just gave me the title of what it's going to be, and I dreamed this up in my. I said, I think I've got it. I think I've got an idea. So he liked my idea, and the publisher liked my idea, and so that's what we're going with. And it's a very relaxing and it's a very good way to work when you can proceed in that fashion. Yeah.
Okay, so he gives you the title of the book and you just go with it?
Yeah, exactly, because
Wow.
it's an enigmatic title. It's very ethereal sounding, and it conjures up my own images of what it would be. And it's all a collection of short stories. So
Okay.
when you have short stories, the idea is to never really not focus on one thing, but just capture the atmosphere that you want to create for all of it. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
the whole, especially if it's short stories, especially if it's short stories, because no, it can just be a nice anthology, and you can have some kind of wild imagery on it that'll take somebody someplace, that sort of thing.
Great. So what is the biggest challenge that you've been finding in creating your covers?
The biggest challenge is, like I said, is I'm getting older and I don't have the energy I had 30 years ago. So I run out of poop a lot. You know what I mean? I just go really tired. And also keeping everything juggling. And also the fact of the matter is that, nowadays you don't, what you get paid, you could buy a lot back in the day, but now it sort of doesn't as much. So it's an economic challenge too. But I like painting for my own enjoyment as well, that sort of thing. And it's just been, yeah, it's been kind of crazy. So uh and when I work, I'm really prolific. It's in December, end of December through the mid part of January, I did something like 5 paintings, and I had COVID as well. So it was just, yeah. So I was functional. I just plowed right through and got things done.
Wow. So how long does it normally take you to do a book cover?
Depends. I can do one in 2 days. I can do one in a week or more. It really depends how complicated it is, or what kind of imagery is involved, that sort of thing. If it's something that's not too complicated, it's fairly easy to get it done.
Wow. Okay. Um, so where do you get the inspiration for some of the work that is not related to a book cover?
All around me, just the ocean, the nature. I have ideas that pop into my head on a minute to minute basis. It really depends upon something that might just pique my interest, and I just run with it. Yeah.
Okay. And do you ever do any research for your art?
Oh yeah, yeah. I do a lot of looking into what something, the planet they're on, what it might look like, or what like the stars might look like, or what like in one case, what a wormhole looks like in space. Like
Mm.
one book coming up, and it's got a wormhole in it, and it kind of looks like a big mirrored ball, is what it looks like out in space, and that's as near as I could really come up to capture it. And they liked it a lot. The author really liked it a lot. The publisher liked it, and that's what we went with. So I get the spaceship with this huge mirror ball kind of thing in space.
Wow. Do you have a favorite research story?
Not really. I can't remember it offhand if I did. I mean, it's a matter of just, you know, uh, I think one time when I was illustrating First Men on the Moon in 1989, that was when I went to England, and I went there for a variety of other reasons. But I had somebody take me up to the Romney Marsh because that's where the spaceship is launched from in the original book. And I got an idea what the houses look like and that sort of thing. And I came back and used that in one of the pieces I did.
Ah, yeah, that's always nice to go somewhere totally different. Great. Okay. Now I have some questions about you about being an artist.
Yeah.
Um, what is your favorite part um about being an artist? About being an artist for publications or just being an artist in general?
That I create things that people like. I like them too. And it's just sort of like, a lot of people said to me a long time ago, you're never going to go anywhere. You're not going to make a living doing art, or you're not going to make a living doing art. Here we are 40 years later. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm doing.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And what has been your favorite adventure during your career?
Oh boy, I could name a lot. Um,
I would imagine,
from
yeah.
trip UK, going to Australia, Hawaii. Hawaii. I went to Hawaii, the
Mhm.
volcanic national parks, and drove around and looked at real live volcanoes. You know what I mean? And that was fun to do. That was a lot of fun to do. And I stupidly got myself a bad case of sunburn the first time I was there. But yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what's the greatest lesson that you've learned thus far in your career?
Wow. Heavy question this is.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's very good.
basically I tell people don't give up. Don't give up doing. If you love it, you do it, and eventually things just work out and they fall into shape. And I've had that happen where things have just fallen into place for me, which is a really good thing. Things just work themselves out. Even if it's something I'm not extremely fussed on all the time, it just somehow tends to work itself out.
Hmm. So, what piece of advice would you give to other artists um, that or that are interested in doing what you're doing?
Um, well, it's a different world now, right now, and I would say
Mm.
diversify what you do. Do a lot of different kinds of things. I do science fiction, I do oceans, landscapes, and this nature, and they all sell really well. They all do really, really well. I just find that just don't be typecast or pigeonholed into one kind of thing. Just make sure that you're doing lots of different things, and that way, one thing feeds the other, and everything feeds you. And that's probably the best thing I can say.
That's very good advice. Yeah, diversify. Are there any clubs, groups, or organizations that you would recommend to other artists or illustrators that have helped you in your career?
Um, Not really. The Graphic Artists Guild was once very helpful. I don't. I can't really say that there's like. I can't really say that there's I've never been a joining kind of guy.
Mhm.
I did go to a lot of science fiction conventions in the 1980s and the 90s, and they were extremely helpful. And it was a different kind of it was a different animal back. It was
Oh
like
yeah,
it was different, and
yeah.
everything's kind of diverse and morphed away into things like comic cons and you know cosplay cons and this sort of thing where they're just sort of able to and there's nothing against it. It's just that things have diverged off into their own little separate type of gatherings and groups.
That's true. All right, now I have questions about you as a person.
Yeah.
What is one thing that people don't realize about you?
Ooh. One thing that people don't realize about me that sometimes that I have a very dry and weird sense of humor, and
Okay.
and it can be taken wrong sometimes a little bit. If I'm being, it's a very dry sense of humor, and it can be subtle. There's all kinds of things that people, people think I'm one way and I'm actually not. I don't jump on bandwagons and I don't jump on, I just am one of the guys that like if everybody's going this way, I tend to go this way. But wow, yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably that you know, um, I'm more I'm more quieter than some people think I am. That's what surprised people.
Ah, okay. Um, and what question do you wish interviewers would ask you? And what would the answer be?
Ah, let's see. What do they? What do I wish they'd add? Let me think. Oh man, I don't. I think that this is like.
This is a
Oh
hard question, I know.
yeah, I know. It's just like I would say it's kind of uh, what I guess. Let's okay. Would you do you consider yourself happy? And my answer is I consider myself content. And there's sort of it's an more easily attainable goal. I think that's what it is. And I tend to go in the thing of being more content than anything else. And I am pretty much, I mean, I just am what I am.
Hmm. Okay, that sounds good. So, what is or are your passions when you're not working, and how do you make time for the things that
That's
your
that's
hard
a
hobbies?
that is a huge question because I used to have a lot of time to do other things now, and I like building things and models and that sort of thing. And I have lots of kind of strange, my little strange toys around the house, like that. And and I like to organize things a little bit better. I like movies and things of this nature. But like lately, between being very busy and being ill, I've had oh boy, I've had 6 colds in 15 months, including COVID too,
Oh,
and um, that takes a lot out of you. It really takes a lot out of you. And I'm just getting over something right now, actually myself. So it's just been it's been interesting. It's been a very interesting time.
so you haven't really been able to do much else.
No, I used to like to travel a lot too. I was a good guy at traveling at one time in my life, and then with everything going on, not just the pandemic, but
Yeah.
the way that people are acting on planes and the way
Mm.
airlines handle people and this sort of thing, it makes me pause before I want to really go anywhere too much on a plane or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think traveling by car is about the best way to do it if you're
Yeah,
going to go anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what does your studio space look like? And what do you need
Oh,
to have around you when
I've got
you're
I've got lots of
working?
toys. I've got lots of books around me. It's a
Hmm.
small X bedroom in our other condo in which I've sort of got my large easel in it, and I have a drawing table, and I have a chair that goes with the table and with the easel, so that it's easy to move it around and stuff like that. But it's been a very it's it's just kind of like a lot of stuff. I mean, I have a lot of stuff. I had a bookshelf actually collapse on me because it just got heavy from books. You know what I mean? And I come in one morning and there's boom, there's these books all like down, and it was just one of the shelves after. It was a cheap shelf. You know what I mean? It was really cheap, a cheap press board, and so it just gave. And so yeah.
God. So, so what do you have like to draw on? Do you have like not an easel, but something like an easel of sorts, or
Yeah, it's not a very large easel, and I paint. Usually, I try to stay standing up as well when I
okay.
paint. A lot of times I sit down too, but I like to stand up. And I usually have, and then I work at my drawing table when I'm doing sort of more, things that I work on flat in front of me a little bit, or not quite flat, but just tilted up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Great. Okay. And do you have specific food or drink or something that you liked when you're
Not
working?
really. No, no, no. I have a
Okay.
glass of wine when I finish a painting or something like that. I'll do that.
Okay. And writers often have furry or feathered or otherwise non-human companions.
I
Um,
I don't have any pets, and I'll tell you why. It's just because, like I found later on in life, I became allergic to cats.
oh no.
I love them very much. It's just that after maybe 2 hours of exposure, or maybe an hour or two of exposure, I'm suddenly getting a itching. You know what I mean? I start
Ooh,
breaking out and stuff like that, and then I get a little stuffy nose and stuff like that. And then when I get away from them, it stops. Um, so you know,
yeah.
yeah, and that's I've had a cat when I was younger. I had a cat till 1986, and she never bothered me at all. But then in the 90s, I tried to get near cats, and I'm like that sort of thing.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah,
Oh well. Now, when you're painting, do you like to listen to music or do you like silence?
I like music. I listen to a lot of kind of 80s music, pop music, rock music, stuff like that. Sometimes spa music, where it's kind of really new agey and weird. Sometimes I even watch a movie. Sometimes I have a movie on in the studio, and it's got to be something. The movie though has to be something I've know line by line, so that it's not too distracting. Like it's just there. You know what I mean? That you can go along quoting it as it goes along.
Oh, okay. Okay. How important has the New England setting been to your work?
Um, don't know. I mean, I've lived here most of my life, and I find that it's maybe it's why I like to put trees and things. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Could be
Okay.
because there's a lot of New England trees and stuff like that.
Great. Okay. And didn't you say about the ocean?
Yeah,
Or
ocean, we're a little 20 minutes from some rocky shores and stuff like that. So
okay. I have two more questions for you.
sure,
Um, where can people find your work?
all over the net. Just Google. My best thing is Instagram. I'm on Instagram, and you can see a lot of really nice stuff that I've done on Instagram. That's my latest. I'm also on Facebook, and I have a website, but it's woefully out of date. And but
Eh,
yeah, but I have like I can be seen a lot of any. Just Google my name, and you see me.
You also have a couple of books out.
Yeah, I had Alien Horizons, the art of Bob Eggleton, fantasy art of Bob Eggleton, that came out in 1996. And then I had, or 95, sorry. And then I had, let's see, Greetings from Earth came out in 2000. Then I got Book of the Sea Monster that came out. And I'm in various and sundry other books like that. I haven't done a new art book in like forever, but, that may change.
That would be good. And so if you do want any of Bob's books, we'll try and get them
They're
at
around, depending
Annie's.
around.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
they're actually,
we'll get them at Annie's, and you can call us at 508-796-5613, or send us an email at orders at anniesbooksworcester.com, and we'll get Bob's books for you. Okay. And you just answered my next question is how can we follow your work and share your awesomeness?
yeah. Yeah,
So
on Instagram, like I said, Instagram is pretty good. Facebook's pretty good. That's the two major social media outlets I use.
okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Bob, and we're
Okay.
hopefully we will see you at Annie's one of
Yeah, yeah.
these days.
I was showing her the pictures of your shop, and she, oh, I gotta go up there. So we will do that.
Definitely. All right, Bob Eggleton, thank you so much for joining me today, and we will
No
be
problem.
seeing you.
Thank you.
Thanks.